Question number 3, Grant Robertson.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker.
Point of order, Grant Robertson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This question was originally set down for the Prime Minister, and given the notoriously poor communication between Mr. Joyce and the Prime Minister, I seek leave for the question to be answered by the Prime Minister.
Well, it's certainly not a valid point of order. If the member's seeking leave, the easiest way of resolving it, members have a right to seek leave for just about anything in this House. The member has sought leave to transfer the question to the Prime Minister. Is there any objection? There is. Order. The member will stand and withdraw that remark.
Withdraw?
Question number 3, Grant Robertson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is to the Minister for Tertiary Education, Skills and Employment. Has he been advised whether the Prime Minister stands by his statement about Budget 2011 that, quote, "This is a budget that will see 170,000 new jobs created"? If so, according to the Treasury in that budget, what progress should have been made by March 2013 towards reaching that target?
Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Well, Mr. Speaker, firstly I'd say that if I was the opposition I wouldn't necessarily pick the day to ask that sort of question when they've opposed yet again the opportunity to create 1,000 jobs.
Order. Point of order. Order. Would the Minister just start and answer the question? Order. Order. I've called the Honourable Stephen Joyce to answer the question.
A little bit tetchy, maybe. Mr. Speaker, I'd provide the usual caveat around Treasury forecasts. They're no more or less than the best predictions available at the time they're made. And of course, suggesting they get it right quarter by quarter, as the member suggests they're doing, is actually particularly fraught. Having said all of that, Budget 2011 projected job growth by March 2013 of 99,000. We have had 70,000 more people employed than 3 years ago, according to the latest version of the HLFS, which had unemployment down to 6.2%. So we do have a way to get still to meet our 4-year target, but it's nothing that a convention centre, some more aquaculture, a new mine down the west coast, some more investment in innovation, more oil and gas exploration, higher performing capital markets, a new dam in Hawke's Bay wouldn't fix, most of which the opposition...
I apologise to the member. I have a point of order from Grant Robertson.
Mr. Speaker, there were 2 parts to this question. The Minister addressed part of the second part. He didn't address the first part, which was whether he had been advised. Is this a point of order or not?
It is a point of order. It is a point of order, and the point of order will be heard in silence.
The first part of the question asked whether he had been advised if the Minister stands by his statement that this is a budget that will see 170,000 new jobs created. He has not addressed that part of the question.
And from my recollection of the answer, I think that's absolutely true.
That's right.
I don't believe the Minister has addressed the first part of that question. Order. We have another point of order. Honourable
Speaker, on 2 occasions you called point of order, and the Minister continued with his answer and took absolutely no notice of you calling point of order, and I think you need to ensure that he follows standing orders.
I thank the member for her comments. Would the Minister please now address the first part of the substantive question?
Well, Mr. Speaker, I intended to answer the first part of the question by saying, subject to the usual caveats around Treasury predictions and quarter-to-quarter variations, yes, the government does stand by its.
Point of order. Honourable Trevor Mallard.
Mr. Speaker, it wasn't a question about whether the government stands by the statements. It's a question about whether the Minister has received advice from the Prime Minister. That is what the question is. It's nothing to do with the government.
I think in the normal course of events, there's collective responsibility, and therefore the Prime Minister, the Cabinet, and any Minister speak as one. But on this occasion, when the Prime Minister is specifically listed in the primary question, it would be helpful if the Minister would actually address that.
Sorry, Mr. Speaker.
Order, Honourable Jerry Brown.
Well, Mr. Speaker, we're getting incredibly pedantic around this stuff. The Minister's answered twice now, and he's answered the question, which the question does ask, as he advised whether the Prime Minister stands by his statement. His answer was, given the usual caveats around Treasury forecasting, yes. Can't be clearer than that.
No, I don't believe that is the case. I will certainly look back on the hands up. But the easiest thing to move this matter forward, would the Minister please address the first part with regards to the reference to the Prime Minister?
Well, Mr Speaker, I'm not sure which part you're asking me to address, except to say that my understanding is yes, the Government, the Prime Minister, the Minister of Finance, myself, other ministers do stand by that target.
Thank you.
Supplementary question.
Supplementary question, Grant Robertson.
Will he recommit today to meet the promise of 170,000 new jobs being created by 2015?
Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Well, Mr Speaker, you're making us give exact answers. I would have thought the supplementaries would then take account of the answers.
Would the Minister just answer the question that's been asked?
Well, actually, it is fair, Mr Speaker, but nevertheless, the Government has not changed its commitment and is working hard to achieve it, as opposed to the opposition, which seems to oppose every single initiative the Government takes to increase jobs in this country.
Supplementary question, Grant Robertson.
How will it be possible for the Minister and the Government to meet their target when there were only 8,000 jobs created in the last year, when projections were that 57,000 jobs were required to be created in order to meet the promise he has just recommitted to?
Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Well, Mr Speaker, my understanding is that around 54,000 new jobs were created according to the quarterly employment survey of the last 2 years. But to answer the member's questions more generally, the Government is focused on a huge range of things to increase investment in jobs and growth in this economy. And one example from just the last couple of days is the Convention Centre in Auckland, which the Labour Party and the Green Party have yet again opposed yet another initiative. And I say again, if I were them, I wouldn't have picked today to ask that question.
Supplementary question, Mr Speaker.
Supplementary question, Grant Robertson.
Why would he try to dispute that he is more than 40,000 jobs behind meeting his promise when the data comes from the Household Labour Force Survey, which he has described as the standard internationally recognised measure of employment, and the Prime Minister has called the most rigorous form of measuring employment in the country? Why won't he just admit that he is 40,000 jobs behind his promise?
Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Well, Mr Speaker, the reality is we are growing jobs. I've been quite open, we're not growing them yet as an economy as fast as we would wish, but the Government is focused hugely on growing jobs. And let me give you a few examples of that to make the member feel happier about the efforts that we're putting in. One, in terms of the increased oil and gas exploration, which the opposition opposes.
Order. Order. I apologise to the Minister. I have a point of order from the Right Honourable Winston Peters.
Forget about apologising to him. I'm the one who's asking for the point of order.
And I'm giving the member...
Well, great. We'll get it right. Mr Speaker.
Order.
My point of order, Mr Speaker.
The member has a right to raise a point of order. As soon as I saw the member on his feet, I called that point of order.
And, Mr Speaker, I expect you to pay more attention when people raise points of order.
Order.
I should not have...
Order.
I shouldn't have to wait till after the House tells you.
Order. It is that sort of interchange that leads to disorder and leaves me with little choice but to discipline the member. Would the member please raise his point of order without criticism?
Mr Speaker, my point of order is very clear. The Minister was asked a specific question as to how he would reconcile the data, not to give a long-winded speech about how he can't, and you let him go on and on and on. When a specific question was asked by Mr Robertson, he couldn't answer it, refused to answer it, and you didn't stop him. Then when I raised a point of order, you didn't recognise me, you let him carry on. That's what leads to disorder in this House.
Can I invite the member to have a look at the specificity of the question that was raised? Well, I invite the member to have another look at it. I think the Minister was very adequately addressing that question.
The point of order, Speaker. The member asked if the Household Labour Force Survey, described by two senior ministers as the most rigorous analysis of employment or unemployment in this country, then why could he not reconcile the fact that they were $40,000 short?
That's why
if he couldn't, he should have said so.
That's quite enough. That's why I invited the member to have a look at the question again, because it talked about why does he continue to dispute the figures, and that's how the question started. Has the Minister finished his answer to the question? He has. Further supplementaries, Grant Robertson.
Can he confirm that unemployment is still above the worst case scenario that was projected in last year's budget?
Honourable Stephen Joyce.
Mr Speaker, no, I can't for the member today, but what I can confirm is that it's the 11th lowest right across the OECD. Nobody's arguing there isn't more work to do, and that's why this government is out every day working on initiatives to increase growth. What's the opposition doing?
Point of order, Grant Robertson.
For the benefit of the Minister, I seek leave to table the section of the budget last year that shows that the worst-case scenario was 60%. Well, he didn't know. He didn't know.
The budget documents are well and truly available to every member in this House. Has the member got further supplementaries? Okay, we move to question number 4, Materia Ture.
Tēnā koe, Mr Speaker.
Order, Materia Ture.